Yeah, well, I think that what Kyle's getting at a little bit is that shift from just being cheap lodging in the area to being a place to connect, a place where you realize like that you have a lot in common with the people around you. I just think that is so meaningful, and we get that feedback from people every day. That and we get the reviews like I've never stayed in a hostel before. I was nervous of what might happen, and then the staff were so friendly, and we carved pumpkins in the common room, and like this was the best way to start like transitioning to my new job or going on a road trip, or I'm going through something at home, and like I didn't know that I needed this, and like that's
Mhm.
the magic, and the fact that that just happens consistently is like it's
Yeah. I
ridiculous.
feel like with like
Hello, friends and travelers. Thanks for listening. You are riding along on the Hostel Road Trip Podcast. Our mission is to spread awareness of the true hosteling experience in the Americas and share stories from the fascinating hosts who create those unique facilities. I'm your host, Jimmy Black, joined alongside co-founder of International Travelers House, Bobby Dyer. Each session, we sit down with hostel operators or travel influencers to hear about their road to success, discuss trending hostel topics, and close with tips for travelers who are seeking to have the ultimate experience when visiting each destination. You can't afford to miss this trip. Now fasten your seatbelts and let's hit the road.
Welcome back to the Hostel Road Trip Podcast for another fun-filled episode. My name is Jimmy Black. I'm live from the ITH Big Bear Hostel location. I'm joined with my co-founder and handsome partner, Robert Dyer. He's down in San Diego. And
Great to be
very,
here.
very excited to have the Conway Hostel. You know the slang, the CoHo Hostel. And we've got the founders with us here, and just so happy to have you and join us on the episode here. And we're excited to hear about what you've created here in Conway, and want to hear a little bit more about what's going on up in New England with the hostel industry, as we know there's some really exciting stuff in the past couple of years. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. We're stoked
Y-
to be here.
yeah.
Yeah, rock on. Okay,
Yeah.
so I I always love to just, before we get into the hostel, in the facility, in the town you're in, tell us a bit about your journey and how you got into hostels personally. Haley, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm one of those people, I feel like classic in the US. I didn't really think about hostels at all until I was in my 20s and I was going abroad, right? And that
Mhm.
then everybody says, "Oh, are you going to stay in hostels?" And I stayed in a hostel in Ireland and had a really memorable experience. Of course, like now I realize it's one of the classic hostel experiences. You stay up all night like playing music and chatting and meeting new people. And I remember thinking after that trip, like, wow, that hostel experience was really cool. Okay, whatever. I went back to real life. I ended up being in outdoor ed for a little while and
Mhm.
working in outdoor education. And that's where I met Kyle.
Mhm.
And well, I don't want to step on your hostel experiences either. But yeah, other than that, I stayed in a couple hostels. I stayed in a couple in the US, even though I know, and that's when I kind of realized, again, what everybody starts to realize is there aren't quite as many hostels in the US as maybe
Mhm.
abroad. But slowly and surely there are more popping up, and definitely some gems, a lot of gems out there. But yeah, kind of slowly but surely, whenever I was traveling, it's like, got on my radar. Oh, I guess I'll stay in a hostel. But maybe I'll hold off on how we started running a hostel before I won't take your floor away.
Yeah, yeah. Kyle, tell us. So, how did you get into it?
Yeah. I had never heard the term hostel prior to college, and
Mhm.
it's probably like the end of college. I had a friend studying abroad in Prague, and the classic like, oh, come on over. And it took it took my college like overcharging me one semester and then issuing me a refund check. I was like, oh, surprise cash. All right, we're going to Europe. uh,
Nice.
yeah. Um, yeah, I stayed in a bunch of hostels around like Eastern Europe, uh, and just incredible. Like traveling just totally by myself. I eventually met up with my friend over there. But yeah, just so cool to like show up, meet people from all over the world, and then like ending up in like a bar beneath the city in Bratislava with like a dozen other people just talking about like their travels and just uh yeah, like the cities and everything were gorgeous, but I just say like that was my biggest takeaway, was just to meet other people, like going solo and then like leaving with friendships. Like I was only out there maybe 2 weeks, and uh yeah, that was the lingering sentiment for me.
You know, you both hit on something here for me that I had on my experience as well. Haley, my experience is literally like mirror image of yours. Didn't know what they were, went studied abroad in Ireland, and then every weekend we would go travel to a different country and stay in these things called hostels. And I was looking around, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm like, why don't we have these?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the fuck?
Like where did this come from?
Me and my buddies would travel in these all the time. And then I went, back to the real world and ended up in a cubicle for 5 years. And then thank God I found myself spinning out of that and being like, well, I remember being happy.
Yeah.
That was the last time I remember being happy.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go chase after that happiness. And then Kyle, did you say that you were in Prague in like a bomb shelter bunker bar?
Yeah, I had some crazy story from that night, actually.
Yeah, I think I was in that same bar because I went to Prague as well. And I remember being like 3 levels below the surface in what was like a World War II bunker bar. And I was like, what's going on in here? It's just so cool. It's like a labyrinth, and like everyone down there was so chill and traveling and in the same mindset. And so I think we might have been in that same exact spot before. But, it makes me think that like without studying abroad, hostels in America might not exist, because besides that, they have such a bad reputation. In a lot of ways. And we're really like the shining light of people that like, no, they're not bad. You're not going to get murdered. I promise.
Right.
But in America, we have this horrible stigma because of these horror movies. And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. And the genesis of this podcast was awareness about hostels in the Americas, because there are so many cool spots, and there's more opening, and we've got to do our darndest to make sure that people know about that as much as possible. So that, and also to encourage others to open up more good hostels. So that's why, we're excited to do these episodes more and more with these places like yours that are opening up. But okay, enough about us. Let's talk about the Conway Hostel, the CoHo. When did you open up this place? Tell us the journey.
The journey? Okay, yeah. Despite advice to the contrary from everyone we knew and loved, we opened it the tail end of the pandemic, because
good for you.
Glutton for punishment, I guess. Oh yeah, like the whole world is shut down and you can't be in the same room as each other. Let's open a hostel. Sure. That makes sense.
I like it. Just bulldog through that right there. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say it was a little bit of a gateway. That's how we got into the building. The previous owner was like, been in hostels for a while, ended up just moving on to other things. They're going to school for social work now, just transitioning. And we were the only folks to put an offer on the building who wanted to keep it a hostel. Everybody else wanted to acquire it for apartments or office buildings, and the town wanted to keep it a hostel. So that was our gateway. That's what got us in, that we wanted to have a hostel at the end of the pandemic.
Yeah, our initial bid was like offensively low. We're like, there's no way this is going to happen. We thought like, if this goes through, we'll move back, because we'd been living in Colorado, and we thought if it doesn't, we'll find another plan. But like, we might as well try.
Yeah, but this is a beautiful example of some highlights for listeners out there that might be thinking of hostels. One of the things that we always talk about is it's so much easier, in our experience, in how we've expanded, is to take over existing hostels. They're already set up. The bones are there. The permits are there. The licenses are there. And then you also do bring up another great highlight where there is perceived risk. There's actually a lot of opportunity. So because you were willing to do that, in the same situation we were in, there were a lot of hostels during the pandemic that either closed because they just couldn't stay in business, or closed because the owners were like, I don't see this ever coming back around or being a good idea. So it created an opportunity for people to get in hostels. And the last thing I want to touch on that you highlighted is there's been a recent flip with local municipalities in our time of doing this, it used to be you'd go in and you'd say, I want to open a hostel, and they'd be like, what is that? And then they'd have to create a whole new zoning thing, and good luck on how long that takes. But
Right.
with more recent housing crises caused by Airbnb and all kinds of rent hikes, and affordable accommodations and affordable housing has become a really big issue, and we can slide in under that movement. And I encourage people to tap into that, because we had that situation in Santa Barbara where the building was sitting there and everyone else wanted to do something else with it, but the city mandated this has to stay a hostel because they don't have any affordable lodging. It's all very high-priced hotels, and it makes the Motel 6 $400 a night. So,
oh yeah, you're preaching to the choir, because we're in a mountain town, so we're around ski resorts that have been recently acquired by Vail, and we've got mountain biking trails and some of the best ice climbing in the country. And the town knows it, and the hotels know it, and the prices are way up. That was our main shtick when we got in here. We were like, we have to have affordable lodging in this valley. It just has to exist.
And it's so good for the local businesses as well. That's something that I've often done in recent years. Of a lot of times, hostels will have a perception of, again, it's a homeless shelter. Everyone's
right.
Actually, you'll get a lot of young Americans and people of all age, now that they haven't spent all of their not on the lodging and accommodations, they actually have money to go out to eat. They actually have money to go out into the town. So I think these are all very good things that your example can highlight to others of what they could use to get their foot in the door. So now the hostel itself, the CoHo, what's the size? what are you working with as far as like how many bunks? What's the layout? What's the style?
Sure. Okay. I guess I'm the logistics one. So we're, which I feel like we're not alone in this, but we're kind of like hybrid hostel. Like we have a handful of private rooms. They still share the common room, community kitchen, dorm style restroom facilities, and that kind of thing. And then we also have bunk rooms as well. So 12 rooms in total. For now, 3 of which are bunker rooms. We've just kind of evolved actually over the years, because we opened during Delta or Omicron or insert whatever like variant of the day for COVID. We opened during that just to get something in the door to help keep us afloat. And so we were fully private at first, and slowly but surely we've just been like evolving over the years, and as like tastes soften and people are embracing the community style lodging more, we've slowly but surely like transitioned more. We've got plans to convert one of our existing private rooms now to another bunk room, so we'll have eventually we're hoping to have 4 6-person bunk rooms and be a little bit more evenly split.
And we have camping in the summer too. We've got 4 campsites. And isn't it funny that folks will come in and use the private room for the first day if they've never stayed in a hostel before? Like, of course, they're going to book a private room. And then the next time they come, they try the bunk room. It's like a funny, I think we'll always have a couple private rooms for that purpose. It's
a great way to like test the waters.
Yeah.
Like they start with a private room and then they leave with like, we have these like punch cards that are only for bunks. It's like, 5 bunk stays and you get a bunk night free kind of thing.
Nice.
I don't know, coffee shop-esque.
Yeah. No, I love that.
But yeah, it's a great like transitional experience.
I think you bring up some good strategies here that should be embraced. One off the bat, I think that the model you're running is the model everyone should be running. Everyone should have private rooms, because we're trying to entice the American demographic in to try it out, and they're going to want to have that private room to expose them. But just like you say, once they get exposed, then they're more fluid in trying it out.
Yeah.
And we've always been a believer in be a chameleon to your season. In our places, we're always changing, bunk rooms to private rooms and vice versa, depending on the season and the trends and past data. So I think that everyone, listening should keep that in mind as far as, be bold in trying out different configurations, see how it works, study your data, but having the mixture of the privates and the bunks, and then campgrounds outside in the summer. All those things are great. And I love the size. So it sounds like you're right around like a 30, 40 bed hostel, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, 30, 40 folks because we've got full beds and queen beds and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I think that's the sweet spot. You know, we come from USA Hostels, which was a company that doesn't exist anymore, but at its time was one of the best operators in the game. But they kind of had a rule of you could never have a hostel less than 100 beds
Wow.
because it didn't make sense from like the overhead and having a team on the management team and all this stuff. But we actually uh, kind of evolved into believing that we never want a hostel over 100 beds. And
Yeah.
people thought we were crazy when we were like, oh, you know, and you'll never be able to open up more than one and things of that nature. But we're a big believer in the smaller the hostel around that 30, 40, 50 number, it's actually more intimate. You can actually remember everyone's name.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the
Yeah.
magic. That's the
Yes, and it creates that vibe and community. Otherwise, it feels like a cattle barn, and you're
Yeah,
just
and
like, oh,
I wouldn't be doing this if I were just churning people through for money. Like none of us would be running a hostel and
yes,
just trying to make money, right? Like we're there for the face-to-face interaction and for the connections that happen.
Yeah. I don't know if you all attended. There were so many people in attendance. Forgive me if I just don't remember, but there was that conference in Copenhagen 2 years ago, maybe, or something.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, and there was one hostel that they put a lot of folks up in, and some of the events were hosted. And it was, I shit you not, a city block. Like it took up an entire city block. The lobby had its own tattoo artist on retainer that was operating out of the lobby. There was a soccer field in the basement, like indoor soccer.
Wow.
And I mean, it was impressive. And everyone walking through that door is hostel guest number 1,300 something.
Yeah.
I think there were like
Right,
8,500
transactions.
beds or something.
There were a lot of
Yeah,
beds.
it was insane.
Yeah.
And you just don't get like what, I don't know. In my mind and in my experience and what we try to do here, that like that hostel magic of connecting people, especially now. Yeah.
And we're such a big advocate of that. And one of the things we try to do with this podcast is really go after and try to highlight hostels like yourselves that have the owner operator, old mom and pop feel type of operation, and then have that number of beds that keeps that intimacy level so that you can have those experiences, those connections. Otherwise, it's overwhelming sometimes, you know, and you can just see people that kind of just go into their turtle shells, you know, and now they're just on their screen, you know, like, oh my God. Yeah. So
yeah.
I think that what we're doing is more of like the genuine backpacker hostel. And, it's such a different experience that we want the people to know about. Now,
yeah, because something that we want, I feel really compelled to highlight, like something that we're trying to do, like being something new for our culture, like the idea, like staying at a hostel, sure, but also like walking into a room, sitting down and going, what did you do today? Like what did you hike today? Is such a new thing and not a usual thing that happens in any other space in our country. So for people to be comfortable enough to do that, we have found that they need a baseline of comfort. They need a baseline of like, I'm safe here. Like whether that's staying in a private room or whether that's not, you know, hundreds of people walking by in either direction, right? Like a little bit of comfort to get out of the comfort zone, to actually engage in what the hostel is offering and what the space is offering. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And,
what with your property there, what made you guys pick? I know you said you wanted to take over that hostel, but what was kind of like, you said your magic, and we can relate to that term, but I guess what is your magic that you chase there at your hostel? Like what is the experience that you guys offer in the
You know, our stump speech has kind of changed in the last year, from sort of like when people ask like, oh, like, what do you do? Tell me about Coho or anything. And we used to say like, oh, it's like we would lean into the like it's economic lodging. We're trying to increase accessibility to outdoor spaces, which we were like coming out of the outdoor end.
We still are.
And we still are. Yeah, absolutely. But now when people ask like, oh, what is Coho? Now we say, oh, it's a hostel and community third place for gathering. And I think that kind of like encapsulates the magic here. Like, yeah, we're a few years in now, and I feel like we've kind of figured out the economic lodging side, and that's great. And the word's gotten out, and like people are showing up. But especially
Yeah,
with
it's definitely working. It's
yeah,
working well, and to congratulate you guys too on the Oscar
Oh
Yeah.
award,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so you
Yeah,
guys are
thank you.
doing a lot of things right. I was going to add to that. It's a hard. That's the dream of every hostel owner. So kudos to you guys for that.
Mhm.
What do you? Yeah, I guess would you say that community focus, or what would you feel was your biggest reason that you guys won that award for?
I think that what Kyle's getting at a little bit is that shift from just being cheap lodging in the area to being a place to connect, a place where you realize like that you have a lot in common with the people around you. I just think that is so meaningful, and we get that feedback from people every day. We get the reviews like, I've never stayed in a hostel before. I was nervous of what might happen, and then the staff were so friendly, and we carved pumpkins in the common room, and like this was the best way to start like transitioning to my new job or going on a road trip, or I'm going through something at home, and like I didn't know that I needed this. And like that's
Mhm.
the magic, and the fact that that just happens consistently is like it's
yeah. I
ridiculous.
feel like with like as all like owner operators, I'm sure do like going like doing your monthly loops through all of the reviews, just like
Hmm.
micro analyzing. Um, but yeah, that's a consistent theme that I've taken away through our like review culture, which
Mhm.
I have a whole
That's
that's an
different.
entire different conversation.
That's a whole
Um,
episode, I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, going through, I think that's the like sort of the distillation of what I've seen and what other people have to say, whether it's in the guest book or like in reviews, and it's that transition of maybe first time in a hostel. It's like, okay, a hostel is a place, and then they stay in a hostel, and then they realize, oh, a hostel is an experience, and there's just such tremendous value in that sort of transition of mindset of just like,
From a I to we.
well, even just from like a warm bed and like under a dry roof
Mm.
to
Yeah.
like to an experience. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the last thing I'll say is yeah, it's just it's such a powerful experience, and I think it's really heightened for us, and the magic is really heightened for us just with the climate in the US right now. It's and not to mention just the culture of looking at our phones. It's really easy to see other people as other people and not the same as me. And we need more spaces where you see the humanity in people different than you, and you find things in common with people different than you. I think it's really important right now. That definitely like lights my fire
Yeah.
around this place for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sense of, go ahead, Kyle.
Oh yeah, we were chatting with a friend who was up recently, and they were kind of asking like, what are some of the big like profound things that we experience? Like, what's our favorite part about it?
Yeah.
And I don't know how it came up, but the phrase like, when someone walks through our door, I becomes we, and
Ah, very nice.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and yeah, I think that's the experience, and that's what we
And
walk away with.
it's kind of a twinkle in the eye I've found over the years of, we have a lot of people that obviously through our locations come in to our management team, and I can quickly see the ones that are going to catch that fulfillment and get that warmth from that and that fire in the belly. And some of them just don't. And they kind of have that bewildered look at you at like, why are you so like into this? You know, like, and it's just that reality of like, oh man, they can't put it in you and they can't take it out of you. You know, but if you're feeling it, you're gonna feel it, brother. You know, and
Yeah.
I so much agree with both of you of like, now, even though the pandemic from that situation of like shared spaces and everyone with the sickness, it seemed like hospitals were the worst thing. I actually feel like we're needed more than ever right now,
Oh, absolutely.
because of the youth generation with this detachment into the screens and not communicating and not having that human touch anymore. You know, but they're still yearning it. You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they come in and they get it and they're like, "What is this? What is this warmth? What is this human connection?" And you see them, and that fulfills me, gets fired. And then you also bring up the political situation that we're in, and the cultural situation in this country. Like, you feel the barriers going up again, and that's a scary thing. It's a scary thing when the wall's going up and the people stop talking and people stop debating. But we have this amazing thing of, and I always go back to this, of the moment I knew that I was like bit by the hostel bug and really wanted to do this is I was at a USA Hostels and hosting a dinner, and I looked around and I was like, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Black, white, Asian, we're all here together under one roof at the same table, loving each other, laughing with each other, having a great time. I was like, this is what the UN tries to do on a daily basis, and they can't get it done, you know. But here we are for some reason, and all of these barriers have been broken down. And now we're forever. Everyone at that table was forever enlightened, because now if someone came up to me and said, "Oh, you know, have you ever met someone from Taiwan? They're all real, just bad people." I'd be like, well, I'm sorry, I can't agree with you. You know, I've met Kim Sung from Taiwan, and he's a great friend of mine. You know, and it really just rattles out all of that bigotry. It rattles out a lot of the closed-mindedness. It opens people up and enlightens them. And that for me has always been something of what a cool job we have. So much better than the cubicle. People come in here. People come in here every day, and they might fall in love with their significant other. They might make a new best friend, or they might become enlightened in a way to the point where when they walk out of your doors, they're a different person with a different energy and a different mindset for the better. And that's special. That's a special feeling. And if you can capture that and feel that, it is a very fulfilling job. And I always remind myself of that when I'm head deep in a clogged shitter.
Yeah.
Had you guys worked in hostels before, or did you just go straight into buying it and running it?
Straight in, yeah. Swan dive into the deep end, yeah.
What was that experience like? Tell us, like, I don't know what it was like. What you learned looking back, hindsight? Give us some knowledge.
Yeah, so both of us had some experience, or a lot of experience in the outdoor education world, working with kids and adults and families in outdoor environments, and either, going on a hike or going on a high ropes course or whatever it may be. And that's something that we both loved. And when we saw the hostel experience, we saw it really tied to the context of this area. People come up here for all those outdoor experiences. So selfishly, personally, it was a great way to stay in that industry, sort of in a more sustainable way. Because, in those jobs, we're sleeping in tents and we're getting paid, per day. And then you're working 22 of the 24 hours in the day. So this seemed like a sustainable way to stay in that industry, to keep serving those people and serving those like transformative experiences we saw in the outdoors. And we also felt like we might have a leg up because we know those people and we know these communities, and feel like, I feel like those are some pretty like understanding, reasonable people, and we know how to like have productive conversations, and we know how to grow. And I feel like if we can just do our damnedest to be like clean and comfortable and safe, we can learn from there and do an all right job.
Yeah. I feel like also like with the sort of expedition based stuff, like there is a lot of hospitality we've realized. Like we came in, or at least I don't want to speak for you, but I came in and just like, oh shit, like like I've never done hospitality. Like this is a brand new thing that we're gonna have to learn. And then really like the guest facing side of things, it was a really easy segue from sort of the expedition based stuff, like taking people out in the woods, like you're making them meals and you're making camp cozy, you're setting up, breaking down tents, you're doing all of these things. And from that aspect, like when you're making you have your like leg locked around the frame of a bunk and you're doing the top bunk for the 100,000th time, and you're like, oh, this sucks. It's like 100 degrees outside. I'm sweating my ass off. It's still better than like, oh, I could be breaking down a tent in like 35 degrees and raining. It's like I could do this. Yeah, like this is all right.
Yeah, there was a lot. I think we were lucky to see, like, when we were first excited about the idea, like there wasn't enough to like, when you have a good idea and you're almost like waiting for a reason not to do something, kind of felt like that. Like we thought like, oh, we have this experience that could kind of translate, and this experience kind of translates, and we just have to figure out a couple bits in between, and it made too much sense.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you guys living on site?
We are. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that makes such a difference, being able to shape that experience really in your literal house. One last question. With the you guys have a lot of experiences there. we operate a lot of beach locations and surf hostels and focus on that surf experience.
Mhm.
Are you guys finding a lot of people are, looking to pick up new experiences, and you guys are you doing like package deals to try to connect with some of these expedition operations or outdoor adventures? Are you finding that's working well, or guests are responding well to these package deals, trying to make it easy for them to come stay and have fun in the mountains?
Yeah, mostly it's out of the hostel. It's we've got a couple guiding services that we partner with that take on the bulk of that. We came into this wanting to do our own programming, and that's definitely still a dream of ours. But for now, we've got some really trusted outdoor professionals that we just work with, and that has been, yeah, a really, really awesome pairing because somebody
Yeah.
stays here, they go out with John or Luke or Haley, and then they come back and we get to hear all about it. And yeah, it's been a really cool way to elevate that experience here.
That's so true. Yeah, we did the same thing and tried to do it ourselves, and you quickly realize, like, oh man, I can't be out here on the trails. Well, I got to be making beds,
Yeah,
or I got to be
yeah,
cleaning beds and making the hostel nice. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's tough.
partnering with an operator like that is key for success, especially in these outdoor locations and
Yeah,
destinations, or really anywhere. Just collaborating with other good tour companies can help your
yeah.
hostel a lot.
And Kyle and I've been lucky enough to take a couple folks out on mountain bikes. That's our jam. And if I see, yeah, if we end up in the common room talking about mountain biking in the summer, it's like, okay, well, when are we gonna go out? Like, do you want a guided ride? And people usually take us up on it. And that has been really fun. That's just been informal though.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think that I hope that we see more and more of the outdoor style hostels that are in the mountain towns, like, or, on the lake, or, even in the desert type of stuff. These are the types of smaller hostels that can be run in our fashion that I hope to see more of in the future, because
Mm,
a lot of people just look to the big city, like, oh, I can only go to a big city because that's where all the volume is and that's where all the people fly into. And sure, that's kind of that old mindset of, you need to have a minimum of 100 beds and you need to be in a tier 1
right.
city. That was another big talk back in the day. It's going to be a tier 1 city. And then, what that really did is it left a lot of these tier 2, tier 3 cities, or these mountain towns and lake town, it left them untouched. So I think that's a great opportunity for people to
Mm,
continue. Another one I really like are farm hostels. I think those can be really
mm.
cool
Oh,
too.
cool, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
farm stills.
Yeah.
So I think I hope that we see more of this. Now on that topic, I want to make sure I mention this before we wrap up. How many hostels are in New Hampshire now? Do you know that? Like off the
Oof.
ballpark? I feel like there's been a surge.
Yeah, so which answer do you want? Because there's
Legal
how
or
many?
illegal?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Well, no,
Right.
total. Legal
The
and
Appalachian
illegal.
Trail runs through New
Yeah.
Hampshire, and there are a lot of like trail hostels.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, as far as like above board, uh, proper like
Yeah.
businesses, hostels go, I think in New Hampshire, I think there's probably 5.
I was gonna say 5. I was
us.
waiting to
I
see
think
what you
there's
said.
5 of us.
But 5 to
Yeah.
10 if you're including everybody in transition, or yeah, those
Sure.
partner hostels, or
Yeah.
people who are sort of a hostel but sort of an Airbnb. I don't know. But yeah, I'd say at least I think we got a solid 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great though, and I know that there have been some that's come and gone. I know we did we went through there on the first season of our Hostel Road Trip podcast before the pandemic. We used to have a hostel, or we tried to have a hostel in Newport, Rhode Island,
Mm.
and it didn't work out because forth across the country, and that was a wild time. But while we were there, we went up into Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire on a Hostel Road Trip podcast tour on the road physically, and that was really cool to see. And I remember thinking, like, what a cool space for hostels, these 3 states up here.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like guided partnerships and partnerships with people who are doing the cool thing outside. And those have been, yeah, absolutely invaluable. But on the same token, partnerships with other hostels for us have been just an absolute game changer. It's one of my favorite parts.
Oh,
Like up
good.
here in like the greater Northeast New England area, we have our own like Northeast hostel network.
That was
And I
one of my next questions. Let's hear about this secret network. It's like skulls and bones.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I know you've already talked to like
I
Dave
got
over at
Dave
Barn
Cook.
Door.
I'm
and-
interrogating Dave Cook
Mhm.
all the time.
You won't break him.
Yeah.
He won't speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I feel like y'all sat down with Serena, I bet too, right? Over at
Yeah, we know
Yeah.
Serena Notch.
yeah.
Not Hostel. We've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of in like the center of the three of us kind of make a border around like the White Mountains here in New
That's
Hampshire.
great.
So we're kind of like the central like three hostels, and then you go up into Maine. You got Hostel of Maine.
You got
up there
Black
with
Elephant up there.
Yep, down
Yeah.
in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather's awesome over there. And there's just a slew in Vermont. That like Vermont is starting to really figure it out, and they're popping up around. That's really awesome.
Okay,
To
well,
see.
that's good to hear because I know that there was like, we went to one in Vermont and it was interesting. It had no doors. Remember that one, Bob? It was just, it was just
Burlington, the Burlington Hostel,
Burlington, yeah.
which I think closed down now.
Yeah, that
Mm.
one. But it was
Okay.
interesting. Like you took off your shoes, and no one was wearing shoes, and there was no doors. I was like, this is kind of a hippie feel, you know?
This
Like,
wasn't the Yellow Deli hostel, was it?
no, we did not get converted. We did
Yeah.
not get converted. I know.
Don't
I know
drink
all those-
anything.
yeah, I know all about those guys. One of them came out west. And they came to one of our hostels in San Diego years ago, and they were like, "Would you like to be a Yellow Deli hostel?" And I looked at him. I was like, "I know all about Jim Jones, motherfucker."
Yeah. Not getting me that easy.
Don't do it.
You're welcome to stay, but stop preaching your shit right now.
Yeah. Leave
Yeah,
it
they're
at
they're
the
not
door,
on our
like
network.
it is.
Just to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's great to hear about the New England hostel operation. Now, but on that, you've got your New England network, and this was actually a hot topic. You guys brought about, this was about a year or two ago, as the NAHA, the North American Hostel Association, was forming, which took over from the American Hostel Conference, which was in South Carolina. That was before the NAHA existed and before the pandemic. So there's always been these attempts to create this national association where we could kind of have strength in numbers and have more advocacy for hostels and awareness and try to beat out all of these negative movies and different things going on.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I see the argument from the side of, okay, national is one thing, but how is it relevant? You know, I'm in California and I'm dealing with a whole different set of laws than you're dealing with. You know,
Yeah.
so it then becomes difficult. And then NAHA has gone the route of inclusive to Canada and Mexico, which I love the inclusiveness and I love the number. But now we're getting to different countries, and we have one hostel in Mexico. It's our second one we've tried opening down there, and let me tell you, a whole world of different rules down there. So I mean, I see the reasoning and the logic behind the more regional association. One thing that I've gone to bat for, I actually supported you all in this, of we should embrace these regional coalitions and have them be affiliated with the NAHA.
Regional chapters of NAHA.
Yeah.
That would be,
Yeah. You know, and some of these like yours are already existing. So it's just easy enough to be like, okay, you know, this secret society is just an affiliation.
Yeah.
We don't
It's just
need to know
affiliation.
we don't need to know the handshake. All right.
Yeah. It's okay.
I make Dave laugh every once in a while when we shake hands. I like tickle him in the middle of the finger. I was like,
is that it?
Did I get it?
Is that it? Now, in that regional thing you have, what do you all do? Like, how do you meet up monthly? Do you have monthly calls? Like, how does it work?
Oh, we wish. We try to do more than once a year. And we have a chat that goes off every week. but we'll meet in person for a couple days once a year and kind of just offload everything. And we do like a really intense day or two.
And then is
that's what
that
our
at one of
base
your
is.
hostels?
Yeah, we
We typically
rotate.
rotate.
It's nice. See, and that's exactly how I think it could be really cool within that regional thing of like you have your regional meetup type of thing, and then it rotates on who might host it, maybe monthly or quarterly or whatever. Now, so you have that support system on the regional basis. Do you plan on continuing to participate in the NAHA association as well? Like, will you be going to the Montreal conference, or is the regional thing okay? So you're cool with both.
Yeah, I don't see them conflicting at all in my head. You know, it's so nice. Like you were saying, the regional thing is great because we can talk about the laws in New Hampshire. And often in our regional thing, we're already talking about the discrepancies just between Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont. But there's a lot that we have in common, and we have a lot of the same clientele. We're getting the same folks who are hiking mountains and doing the AT and skiing. So and we're a lot like similar size too. And, you know, we'll go to NAHA, and sometimes we all learn things that like we didn't have any idea. Like we'll learn something about cloud beds or something, you know, that is really interesting information coming from the Southwest, but we might not meet another hostel that like has the same folks coming through or is the same size. So I see benefits to both.
And maybe that thing we learned about cloud beds is that they're raising their rates again. No, sorry.
What a surprise.
Yeah, that is, I will say that is the one thing that has like really, we've really enjoyed the regional thing because it's just something that we can do sustainably on our own, like without sponsors and things. Like going to Copenhagen was great. It's great to travel to Europe and like spend a week over there. What was marketed to the group as like, this is like a World Hostel conference sponsored by Hostel World. No, bullshit. It was a Hostel World conference where it was basically like the pitch deck of all of the new updates coming for Hostel World. So we flew across the world for like, I don't know, for you to give us like a tech spiel. And it was just like, it just felt like such a colossal waste of time.
No, and that's why I do think that the regional smaller groups should be embraced because they can be more efficient and impactful. And the reason I bring this up is because I had mentioned yours as a model, as I had said, like, hey, you know, we should embrace this a bit more. And like, I think California should have its own, you know, subgroup or, you know, its own secret society. And I thought they were going to tar and feather me when I said it, but I was just like, well, I think it makes sense from the efficiency and the being relevant with there's a lot of hostels in California. So it could be a very nice group and then it could be within affiliated to NAHA. But I think that's stuff that we should continue to talk about even in this upcoming conference, because I think that should be embraced by NAHA instead of them being more concerned of like, oh, this is people going rogue or breaking out of because it clearly you're both a great example of that's not the case, as well as Dave Cook was down there, and you know, Heather Lober is still involved, you know. So I think that we should continue to push and use yours as a model and example of how that can be a very useful thing and very impactful.
Yeah, I see tremendous value in like the large scale, like NAHA or like this international one. Like, I love that for like, there's strength in numbers for if we really are going to shift public perception of hostels and move the needle on that, we need the numbers. We need everyone, all hands on deck. Like, join.
Absolutely.
Secret handshake, sign the dotted line, hand over your membership fees. Like, this is all, we're all doing this thing. Like, get on board. It helps all of us. And that's great for like a public facing mission, right? To like move the needle forward on perception. And I think as far as like support and partnership and like keeping the doors open and developing our systems, and like there's just something regional that like, like when we show up for our gatherings, like there's no like soloing out like who's gonna get it. It's like we all know. Like we all know the challenges. We all know, and it's I mean, it's always a hoot. Like the first like hour of like every one of our annual gatherings is just like, you're never gonna freaking believe, which is like, and it's just like that solidarity of just like all the challenges that come with like very regional specific things that you just don't get at scale like
Mhm.
the Copenhagen one, like everyone talking about like pods, the revolution of pods and these little sleep pods and stuff like, oh yeah, rural hostels, like that is just never going to be in the cards. It's never going to be in the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
I can see what you mean by that, and those different styles of presentations they put on and those types of things.
It's cool. It's
Uh,
great information. It's fun to like to gather and like party at a
yeah,
hostel in Europe.
I find it to be like because we used to go to the Hostel World one when they had it in Dublin, Ireland, and it was like the party was at the Guinness factory and brewery and everything. And
Mhm.
basically, it was like, okay, we're basically it's an excuse for us to go get blitzed in Ireland for a week. Okay,
Yeah.
but as
Yeah.
far as taking
Yeah.
value out of it, I definitely think Naha's doing great with um, their conferences and their post trips, and that's all about networking, right? And
Mhm.
again, but I do think that we should continue to push the idea of these regional meetups because, again, I've voiced your group as an example of how this could be a good thing for Naha, that there's affiliated subgroups that are more regional that could be impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a support system for regional challenges you face, and it gives you more support
Yeah.
and more longevity. Yeah.
Outstanding. All
Speaking
right.
of support, any advice for other couples or solo entrepreneurs starting a hostel in a mountain town now that you guys have lived it, done it, awarded a
Yeah.
champion? What is the
I-
what can you leave for the next generation of hostel entrepreneurs?
That's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, if you're gonna do it, be all in. Be all in. Be all about it.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
gotta
So
love it.
true.
And like work-life balance is also important. But as far as the work side of things goes, you're all in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your point.
Yeah. What do you think, Kyle? I didn't give you enough time to think of something, did I?
No, that bought me enough time. I would say my advice would be, yeah, like we're trying to shift public perception on hostels, and we're hostels. Like there are some luxuries we as operators are like allowed get to enjoy, and like that is the imperfection. Like we are everyone, like especially independently owned, like we're unique. It has, I love the term character, right? We love character. It's like this
Done, we're gonna say done is better than perfect. Like start something.
yeah,
It
like
doesn't have
when
to
we
be.
got into hospitality, I feel like it was like we have to have like the best beds, the best pillows. It has to be like spit polished clean, like shining, glimmering.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like
yeah.
it's got to be
Don't
above
interrupt.
board. It's got to be clean. It's got to be safe.
Yeah.
Other than that, like you don't need the pods on your opening day necessarily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just to not lose sight of the soft stuff, the like checking, like how you doing. I mean, I'm partial to your Dave Cook episode just because he's a buddy of ours too. But like that, the story of just like him being lost and coming in and just like the big hug he gave him, like that's it. That's the sauce. Like that
I
right
still
there.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's it. And
Yeah, the connection, never forgetting the guests, just making the guests happy, comfortable, making them feel like they belong,
yeah.
and they're part of the community here. And if you take care of your guests, they'll keep staying. If they feel like they're welcome, they'll extend and
Yeah.
extend and extend, and it grows from there. That's
Yeah.
great advice.
Yeah, no, but in closing and wrapping up, I think you both bring some great mantras in or ethos to like the hostel. And Haley, you brought up a few times, and I always tell our staff, like, our base job at its foundation is a clean space, a secure space, and a space that everyone feels comfortable being themselves. And then everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Like the moment, the energy, the vibe. We don't need to have anything too fancy and everything. And then over to Kyle, something you were saying. An old man once came up to me, and he was a backpacker who had been to every country, and you could just like an old salt, you could feel the travel coming off of him. It's one of those older guests that all the younger guests circled around and were listening to his stories. And he came up to me and he was like, "Young man, never forget that a perfect hostel is imperfect." And that always hit me. I was like, "Oh, wow." He like hit me with a saber of truth. And I was like, okay, that's so true. Like, because we are hostels, and we should never forget that we're not, going to be a 5-star resort. We're going to have more character and more genuine experience. And, we shouldn't forget that. But
That's so powerful. It like creates a permission. Sorry, I'm really going
Yeah.
on probably, but like
yeah,
I think the imperfection, like no one is perfect. And by
No!
the hostels being imperfect, like it creates a permission structure for people to feel truly comfortable. They can let their
Yes.
guards down because they look around and they realize like, oh yeah, like this place isn't like 100% perfect. I don't have to be either. I can arrive here and like
exactly.
take my shoes off and like
Yeah.
be comfortable.
Yep.
Hmm.
And I think that's a powerful thing that we offer people, because everything else in a lot of times in this world is trying to be perfect or trying to hide the imperfect.
Yeah.
And just embrace it, baby, and
Yeah.
let your, and have your moment. And then in those moments, you have those genuine experience and connections that are so beautiful and fulfilling. But again, thank you so much, Haley, Kyle, the Conway Hostel, the CoHo. Thank you for joining us on the Hostel Road Trip Podcast. And when I come up to, I actually have a visit that I owe Dave Cook to visit the barn door. And when we do, we're going to try to come see you too. So
Cool. Yeah, please
Love to
do.
have you, yeah.
yeah, keep on rocking. We look forward to seeing you in Montreal.
Yeah, we'll see you in Montreal. Thank you guys so
All
much.
right. Thanks
Thanks,
so
John.
much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bob
Bye.
Dyer. I'm Jimmy Black, and we're out.